There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, the July.
1, 2, 3, set, go.
Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Hope you're doing well out there and thank you so much for checking out the show. As always, I'm your host Anthony Merchant here with another podcast for you. And thank you if you checked out last week's. I've had a really good response to it. I was wondering if people would enjoy it or not, but they seem to. The concept was talk about the year 1995 in music, since it is the 25th anniversary, not ever whatever the hell just came out of my mouth, the 25th anniversary of a lot of really, really good records this year. And, we just talked all about it on there. And, yeah, getting some really positive feedback, as well as that Spotify playlist, 3 hours of nothing but bomb-ass 1995 music, nothing before, nothing after, only from that time period. And if you want to go check that out on our Spotify page. And if you haven't checked out the last episode, definitely go check that out. But I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself. You're listening to this one, so, I'll hold my horses. But, people have been enjoying that one and hitting me up about it. So thank you if you have. And if you haven't checked it out yet, go check it out. People seem to enjoy it. And I think people are going to really enjoy this one. That was a solo one. But this week, I got a guest. And I always love having guests, including when I'm a really big fan of what they're putting out, which, is normally the case on here. There is a quality control where, I'm not just having someone on to have them on. If I have them on this show, it means that I like what they're doing. But, this band in particular, High on Stress, I got to be honest, had not heard of them up until a few months ago. But shout out Saint Bad Dad on Instagram. Really rad dude who I've just been talking to on Instagram for probably like the last year or two. Follows the show and is always, really, really cool. Like promotes the playlist on his page and stuff. Will like tag me and also has sports a Power Chord Hour T-shirt and looks rad in it. And will post pictures of him running in it and stuff, and just really cool. Dude has great taste in music. Has made me really jealous with some of his music stories and some of like the artists and shows that he's gone to see. He has definitely made me envious before. But a few months ago, he told me to check out this band High on Stress. I'd not heard of them before, but he's like, he knew I was a Replacements fan, as does probably anyone who knows me or listens to the show. They're the greatest band of all time in my opinion. And, he's like heavy Replacements vibes, really good. And I checked them out, and then I look on their page too, and they, like in the bio thing, it kind of like has a couple like quotes from people. One of them, Peter Jesperson. The man who basically found the Replacements and, and was also the founder of Twin Tone Records. And just really, if you want to talk about it, such an important part of the Twin Cities music. By all means, huge part of it. But he had a little quote on there that, kind of his stamp of approval for the band, as well as James Alex from Beach Slang and Weston, who former guest of the show, like probably like the second or third person we ever had on here. And maybe one of these days I'll post it as like a Power Chord, like a throwback episode. And actually, though, if you do, it is on our YouTube page. You can hear it. It's not like it like doesn't exist anywhere. But it is also on like, I think like episode 2 of the podcast, like one of the very early ones. Whenever Beach Slang's record came out this year, I believe I included it on that podcast, like at the end of it. But just a real quick 5-minute interview, just talking about Big Star. It was for an episode where we were very time sensitive, just because I was trying to play a lot of music from Alex Chilton, and also had a second, David Julian Leonard, who was a very interesting guest who knew Alex Chilton. And that's an interesting interview I should post on here sometime too. That's also on our YouTube page, buried at the bottom there, just because it was so long ago now that it's one of our first ones up there. But both very, very worth checking out. But James Alex of Beach Slang, Peter Jesperson, both giving their seal of approval. I was pretty sold. I heard I forget what song he sent me. Whatever song he sent me, I really liked. But, I heard that. I enjoyed it. And then a little bit later, me and the band started following each other on social media and started listening to the album Hold Me In, their new record, and just blew me away. Really, if you're a fan, and I'll play a bunch of stuff here after the interview, but I mean, if you're a fan of the, the Replacements, of Soul Asylum, of Husker Du, I mean, and it's just the Twin Cities. I mean, singer-songwriter stuff, you're a fan of just good, like, alternative indie rock, I mean, really college rock is also a good one. Like, I don't feel like that term gets thrown around enough anymore. And maybe because I don't know it exists anymore. I don't know that there's bands. I think it's kind of morphed into different things. You know what I mean? Like, bands you probably would have called college rock back in the 80s, you would now maybe call like indie rock or whatever. But whatever the hell you want to call it, just a rock and roll band. I mean, High on Stress gets it right by like, and what I told Nick too in this is like, the range that they have is what I really like. And, I hate to keep throwing around the Replacements. There are tons of other bands, tons of other influences, and they also don't just sound straight up like them. I'm just, there's obviously a influence there. And, the Replacements being my favorite band, I have to bring them up every chance that I can. I have to shoehorn them in there. But, just comparing them to them in the sense that, Paul Westerberg and the rest of the band could do that, where you could have, on Let It Be, you could have Gary's Got a Boner, and you could also have Unsatisfied. That you can do both those things. And also we can write a ballad, but we can also write, just a rocker. And that's exactly what High on Stress did on this new record. And they have range, and I really, really enjoy it. So, when you're done with this episode, you definitely want to go check out their new record, Hold Me In. It is so, so good. And I'll play you some tracks after this. But I enjoyed talking to Nick. We got all into the new record. His kind of music career as a whole, he's been doing it for a while. And, I kicked myself too because, like I said, I just really discovered High on Stress. And they've been around since, I believe he said 2003, I want to say they formed. So they've been around for quite a while. And I even lived in Minneapolis last year. And I'm kicking myself in the ass not knowing about them. I mean, I would have loved to go see a show and, probably interview them in person too. I enjoyed doing this phoner, but, who knows? Maybe we could have done an interview up there. So kind of bummed I didn't know about them then. But I am happy that I know about them now, and I'm not going to let you make that mistake. That's why I have him on here. I have to spread the good word of High on Stress because more people should know them before they kick themselves in the ass. And I'm trying to stop you from kicking yourself in the ass. That's what I'm saying. So right now, here is Nick Leet, probably one of your new favorite songwriters. It is High on Stress. We're talking all about the new record, Hold Me In, right here on the Power Chord Hour podcast. Right now on the Power Chord Hour, we are talking to Nick Leet. He is the frontman of the Minneapolis band High on Stress, and the band recently released their latest record, Hold Me In. I am absolutely in love with it. We're going to talk about the new record, some Twin Cities music, and a whole lot more. Nick, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I've really been looking forward to this. I mean, I know it's not the band's first record, but it is the first one that like I've become privy to you guys, and I'm absolutely loving it. I've been listening to it like a bunch the last couple weeks, and I know it came out a couple months ago here in the middle of COVID and everything. As far as recording it goes, I mean, was this all done and in the bag before COVID?
Yeah, no, we'd been working on it for quite a while. We actually broke up in 2014 when our bass player Jim Soul moved to Chicago. And we'd recorded 4 albums prior to that. So we'd been around for quite a while, and then he moved, and we decided to just to end it there. And around 2018, we decided that whole, breaking up thing was stupid. And we got the band back together, including Jim. So we've managed to figure out a way to make it work, and got back in 2018. We've been working on it since, but we had the release show all set and in the bag and ready to go, and then of course the Lizard portal was opened, and here we are. So the record was done and ready to go, and we had to sit around and decide, does it make sense? There's really there's no good history on is it a good idea to release a rock and roll record during a 100-year pandemic, but we went for it.
Yeah, there's no one. You're kind of trailblazers. There's really no one to look back and go, "Is this a good idea or not?"
Yeah. How did Smash Mouth do when they released that during that last pandemic?
That last one. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense. I mean, do you feel like it was a smart choice? I do, because personally, I know bands are kind of like going back and forth with that, but overall, my whole thought is, everyone's kind of around not doing a whole lot. Like, isn't that the best time for new music?
Well, initially when we had a lot of back and forth on, all right, let's see what happens with the release show. As it gets close, we're like, okay, the release show is going to be canceled. Now what do we do? And ultimately we're like, let's just release the thing. What else? I don't want to wait until this thing's over. No one else wanted to wait until it's over. But is it going to be a giant thud? Like, you work on this thing that you're going, all right, this is our 5th record, but we all think it's our best one and we're proud of it. And you hate to release it out there and have no one listen to it. So we really didn't know which way it would go. But when we did release it, it was the right choice, and it's exactly what you said. We've been around the block. Recently, a record store guy had asked me to drop off some records for him.
Oh, nice.
And he said, "Where did you guys come from? You guys came out of nowhere." And I'm just like, "This is our 5th record, man." So I think it proved a point. Really, the fact that people can sit down now, because we're running all over the place, right? You've got places to be, work's keeping everybody busy. You've got 1,000 things going on. You're going to rock shows, bands are creating music. There hasn't been a lot of time over the years to actually sit down and take it in. And a lot of the ways that people listen to music nowadays is very background,
yes,
throw something streaming on in the back, and you don't really sit and really, back in the day, you'd look through the records, you'd look through the notes, you'd have your headphones on, you'd be taking in all the lyrics. And I think we've really gotten away from that over the years. But I think one thing in all of this terrible stuff we're living through here is people have been forced to slow down, and that actually helps the music listening experience as well, because we've got nothing but time right now. So I think people are taking more of a chance and really giving it more of a spin than they probably would have normally.
And it's kind of cool, like what you were just talking about, with the vinyl and all that. I did see something today that, the numbers for vinyl sales skyrocketed this year, and even over CDs and stuff, which kind of, like you were saying, the liner notes and being able to hold it and look at it and whatnot. It seems like people are kind of going back towards that. Are you kind of are you a vinyl guy? Are you a collector and whatnot? Because you are right. I think about it, and it's if you're listening to I don't really like Spotify and stuff. You're listening on there, and all of a sudden it's your music is just, there's ads in the middle of it. It screws up sequencing. There's not really that steady flow. Like you said, it's kind of a background thing. You more of a, I guess, analog guy. You prefer vinyl and CDs and all that.
I'm a music guy. I love vinyl. It's not real convenient. You're not going to bring a record in your car and put the needle on. But, when you're at home and just listening and sitting there and relaxing, there's nothing better than that. I've got 1 million CDs. I'll never get rid of them, because sooner or later they're going to come back around. And, people with their vinyl collection are always like, I should have sold all my stuff off. So I'm keeping all that stuff. But Spotify has a place, and the sound isn't as good. Now it compresses it, for sure, and they pay garbage, less than anything. But what I compare it to is, when I was younger, growing up, getting into music, everybody just kind of traded cassettes and everything else, and hey, check this out, and Spotify is kind of that for this generation, although in a much bigger way, and it does take away sales from bands. But there's a sense of discovery where you can just get lost in a rabbit hole of music that, when I was a kid, if that had existed, I would have thought it was the greatest thing that ever happened, because of all of this music at your hands. But at the end of the day, you hope people will go on there and go, this is cool stuff. I'm going to go over to the Bandcamp page and I'm going to go buy the record. And that's the perfect scenario. But, of course, you and I both know people are just, some will do that and some will go, cool, it's free.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like you have a little bit of both there. But no, and I do agree. I think there is a place for it. And I like it more for that too. Like you said, I'm not like if you're listening to a whole album, I can't get into the commercials and all that. But if you just want to listen to a playlist or something, it is a good entryway into a lot of music. But yeah, I was wondering that. You also come from too. A place with great record stores. So you live in a great area for if you collect CDs and vinyl and whatnot. But I think I did see too, right? The vinyl for the new record, is that sold out?
It's gone. Yeah,
That's
we sold all of
awesome.
that. Yeah, it was pretty shocking. We kind of went into it. Well, we released the CD, and then of course the digital downloads and streaming first, and then that was doing well. And we thought, wow, should we take a chance on this? Because vinyl is not cheap by any stretch. And we just went, this is our favorite record we've done. In a lot of ways, it was kind of like, well, we want our own copies of this on, this is something we would like to have on vinyl because we're collectors. And so we went for it, spent the money, and we sold them all, which still baffles me. So really happy about that. And the first batch of CDs sold out too, and we just got more of those. So it's been nuts. I would not have predicted it at all.
That's cool. I'm sure there's a lot of bands who have the opposite of we should press this on vinyl, and then they just have a basement full of it. So that's probably not a bad problem to have. Is this the first? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, man. Oh no, you're fine.
We re-released our first record, Moonlight Girls, on vinyl when we got back together. It must have been 2018. We released that, and we sold quite a few copies of those, but those are not sold out. This new one flew right out of the door. So
that's pretty rad. No, that's what I was wondering, if this was your first one on a vinyl. I mean, that does have to be neat. I got to say, that seems like something very gratifying to be like, this record you made literally in record form. That's
right.
You got to get a kick out of that. I'm sure. But
it's the best. It's the best.
Something that I really like on the new record, I got to say, like I mentioned, I mean, you guys are a couple albums in. This is my kind of introduction to you guys. So I'll be honest and say, I don't know if you're like this with every record, but the thing I really like on the new one is the amount of range on it. Like, you have a really good mix of songs. You have songs that are like just kind of straight up rockers. You have other ones that are more kind of stripped back. And I mean, just there's a really good back and forth there that I think sometimes people can go either one way or the other and have too much of. I mean, was that a conscious effort for you guys, like going in? Like, were you kind of trying to balance out that sound? Like, was that a thought? Like, were you weary at all being like, hey, we don't want too many songs that are, too guitar heavy, or we don't want too many songs that are more, kind of stripped back like that? Is that like a conscious effort on your guys' part?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a conscious effort, but all 5 records are that way. We joke that we play both kinds of music.
I did see that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, and it really is. It comes from two things, influence-wise. Like, I grew up in punk bands, screaming, yelling, doing all that fun stuff, and I still love that to death. It's so fun. Which I think you could probably see some of that influence on the record as well. But I'm also a singer-songwriter guy. Like, Jason Isbell is probably the best songwriter around at this moment, and there are many others. Andrew Hyra from the band Billy Pilgrim, just great songwriter. So I love Dylan. Like, you gotta love Dylan. So I've always kind of had my foot in both camps. One side Replacements, one side early Wilco, is what a lot of people say. Somebody said that we sounded like what would happen if the Replacements and Wilco had a baby, and I said, okay, I'll take that all day long.
That's not a bad one at all. I feel like that's a really good compliment.
Yeah, no, I was not offended by any stretch. So, it's kind of a mixture of that. Just I've got a pretty wide-ranging love of music. I'm a huge Prince fan. You'll not hear that in the music because we're not funky at all. But I love Prince. So like I just love music. But that kind of power pop, punk rock, Americana thing is kind of the street I live on for sure, and the band all lives in that space too.
I like that. It works. I mean, and I know you probably do get like I'm sure you hear Replacements and stuff also being from Twin Cities, but I think that's part of why I like that, their whole range thing, that idea of, we can do rockers, we can get in your face and, play that stuff, but we can also write like really good lyrics and like, really strip it back and kind of like appreciate the music for what it is. Having both sides of that is really good. You said you've kind of did that the whole band's career though, you said.
The whole way, yeah. If you go back to that first record, you'll hear rock songs, you'll hear acoustic-based kind of alt-country sort of Americana songs as well.
And how's how's songwriting going in the band? Are you the main songwriter? Do you normally bring stuff to the rest of the group? Is it more of a group effort? What do you guys normally do in High on Stress?
It changes a little bit, but on average, I'll usually bring something in that's written. So, verse, chorus, bridge, whatever. Bring it into the band. There could be some arrangement that happens in the band. Somebody will have an idea to kind of take it a certain way or another way. Usually starts with me. But this record is kind of special in that Jim Soul, the bass player of the band, is a songwriter. He just released his first solo record himself too, and he's always written songs. And this time he had this song that we liked, and we're like, I wonder if we could take that song and turn it into a High on Stress song. And that's actually the song "Hold Me In." He wrote that, and then so that's like the one song in the record that's all Jim right there. I'm singing it and playing guitar and all that, but it's his song all the way across the board. So it was kind of a nice special way to do that this time around, and he even got the title track. So good job, Jim.
Damn, that's a good first one to have in the band. You're right, and the title track, not a bad start for that.
Yeah.
So then you normally though you're the one, you'll kind of write like the basic tracks and stuff, and then bring it in. Everyone kind of does their own thing on it.
Yeah, and they usually start with me, but at the end of the day, I'm like, we're the sum of the parts. Like, Jim's bass playing is great. His background vocals are fantastic. Mark is a great drummer. I usually say to people that he's a lyrical drummer, because he's got these like little tom hits that he'll do that you can literally sing these drum parts after you've listened to the song so often. Like, they're very, very tied to the song. It's not just drums in the background. So, and then Chad Wheeling, the guitar player, I've known Chad since he was a kid. Like, he's about 5 years younger than me, and he was like the kid playing Nirvana Love Buzz with his little 13-year-old friends. He was just like, what? This kid's crazy. But like, what he did on this record is nuts. Like, it's the best guitar playing I've ever heard him play. The solos on there are like some of my favorite parts of the record. So, and he also recorded the record. We recorded it, recorded, self-released, wrote all the stuff. It's all kind of a self-contained thing. So, but Chad really knocked it out of the park.
That's actually what I was about to ask about the recording of it. I mean, I assumed you did in the city, but it was all. It sounds like then everything was kind of in-house. You guys produced everything, recorded it all and stuff yourselves.
Yeah, we had a few guests. We had our friend Elliot Hilton do backing vocals on a song called 8-Track Song. A guy named Jim Propodnik played piano on a few things. And then Lori Lindeen sang backing vocals on Wish This Moment Gone. And then we had our friend Andrew, who I mentioned earlier, Andrew Hyra from Billy Pilgrim. Fantastic. They were a 90s kind of folk duo on Atlantic Records. He co-wrote the song Never Got That Far with me, and he's on it too. But other than the guests, like, everything is really just done in-house with the band, recorded and written and everything.
And how long did it take to record this record?
Oh man, way too long. I was talking to somebody else the other day on a radio thing, and telling him, I'm like, it's crazy, because he asked me if I liked recording, and I said, the minute I get in the door, I love it. I'm like, let's go. This is fun. This is going to be great to hear this stuff. By the end, I'm done. I'm like, let's go. And the rest of the band's more like, no, hold on. So I definitely have the least amount of patience when it comes to getting a record done. And because they're so patient, it turns out better than if I didn't have them there holding me in check from just trying to get the thing done.
You just want to do like one take and just be like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, one or two. That's it. Come on to it. It's usually the recording part doesn't get me as much as the mixing part. The mixing part's brutal, and that part, even if you're not there necessarily for every mixing session, it's still it's mixed, send it to the band. Everybody's got 4 different opinions on the volume or whatever. It just goes on way too long.
Oh, those are the little parts that I don't think people think about, where it's like, yeah, that would be that's like tedious work. And I'm sure at that point you just want the record out too. Like, the song's written and recorded, you just want the damn thing out, I'm sure.
Exactly. And the other part of it is once it is done, then the other work comes, which is booking the release show and kind of prepping it and how are we going to promote it. And so once it's done, it's still not out. So especially if and we're not on a label, like I said, we're self-contained, but on labels, sometimes you've got bands that are sitting on a record for 6 months to a year waiting for the cycle to start. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
That kind of brings up another question. I know you said that you guys had a little breakup there. And I mean, how many years was that? Did you say 4? 4 years?
4 years, yeah. No, we were done. We had Jim was moving. We released Leaving Minneapolis, which was our 2014 last record. It came out the day we broke up. We had a show at the Parkway Theater in Minneapolis.
Oh, nice.
Did a show there. It was fantastic, and walked off, drove home, and thought that was it. And for 4 years it was. And our friend Tommy Keene, he's a great power pop singer.
Oh, yeah, a legend.
You know Tommy? Yeah. He passed away a couple years ago, but he used to when he'd come to town, we'd open for him, and just a wonderful guy. And he passed away, and Mark, the drummer, and I ended up flying out to LA for his memorial service. And he and I spent a weekend together in LA doing that and some other things, and that was one of many things that really got the band back together. Chad, the guitar player, was kind of hinting, I kind of want to do this. And I had played a show in Chicago and Ottawa, Illinois with Matthew Ryan and Miles Nielsen. And I was just thinking, kind of thinking that I need to do something different. And all of these things kind of converged. And we got the band back together, but it was a 4-year period there where we weren't doing anything.
And, I guess not super long in between, but I mean, has much changed, do you feel like in music since coming back? Because like you said, you're self-releasing this and all that. I mean, was anything too different coming back, promoting it and getting everything around in between that time?
Oh, wow. That's a hard one to say. Because it's all, different years here. Like when we got the band back together, we were out playing. We would do runs of 4 or 5 days here and there on the road, and just having a blast and all of that, just doing it, and then recording when we weren't traveling or doing shows, kind of on and off there. But as far as how the release went, it's just with everything going on, it's just everything is different.
I guess that's true.
It's too bizarre. But we were ramping up. We were talking to our friends, the Sparklers, out in Philadelphia, about coming there in August to do a 4 or 5 day tour of the Northeast, including New York, and so that didn't happen. So we had some grand plans that are pushed back, but no, everything has changed for sure. Music in itself, I would say it's rock and roll was pretty much on life support in 2014, and I would say in 2020 it's probably the same. But it's interesting to see that people are grasping onto this record. And I think a lot of that reason is because people are a little starved for rock and roll music, because there's not a lot of this out there. There are rock bands out there, but it's not like it used to be where, you could, swing a dead squirrel and hit a rock band. Those days are gone.
And it is too bad, because it is true. If I think about your record, I don't feel like there's tons of other things that came out this year that I could compare it to. A lot of bands that I would compare you to are ones that really just you don't see anymore. People for whatever reason aren't doing it, which I don't understand. I mean, I would think there seems to be some kind of demand. I mean, but maybe it's just me. I love this kind of stuff. So I want more of it. But I mean, you're totally right. In 2020, we don't see tons of just straight up rock bands anymore, and I'm just not sure why.
I know, and I'm hoping at some point, what's gonna happen is this stuff's gonna swing back around, and I'm gonna, years from now, I'm gonna be the 60-year-old being like, "Hey, can I play with you?" But it's kind of worked out in our favor in some ways. Where I've been doing this kind of music my whole life, and a lot of that music went away, and we just kept doing it. And I think that's one of the things that has actually set us apart, is because there's not a lot of that out. And if you like, your replacemency sort of power pop, you like Big Star, you like that sort of thing, you might like our band. And most of the people who I think generally are into that stuff haven't heard any new records in a while
No.
that they actually care about. So I think they've actually been a little surprised when they've heard it, that they're like, wait, I haven't bought a record in 5 years that I actually like. So, it's good. It's helped us in that way. And I hope in some way. I talked to some kid, I call him a kid, but he's in early 20s, was telling me last night on this podcast thing that he's like, I'm playing guitar and I got this band. I'm like, thank God, man.
Someone's doing it.
Someone's doing it. And, it's nice to see 22-year-old who's just excited to play and playing a guitar in a rock band. I'm like, all right, it's going to come. The time will come.
It's just crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I think when you're, and I don't think about that all that. I mean, I guess I do when we talk about it, but like, I think when you're ingrained in a lot of times, you really don't notice it. Where like all of a sudden, like I listen to your band and I'm like, oh my God, I hear all these different like bands that I love in there. And then all of a sudden it hits you and you go, yeah, not a lot of people are doing this. Nope. You don't think about it. But like you said, like, I mean, including if you are a fan of like the Big Stars and the Replacements, I mean, these are all bands that, I mean, haven't put out records in literal decades. I mean, that it just doesn't exist out there. So I don't know. Maybe this is your payoff now. Like you're saying, everyone's really taken to this, and like you kept playing that music, whether it's popular or not. And I think maybe maybe it'll swing back around now. You guys will be the trailblazers for this next wave.
Well, it's funny because I think about this as well with like the band Beach Slang. Beach Slang?
Oh, yeah, I love Beach Slang. We've had James was one of our first guests on here back in, funny enough, in 2017, talking about Big Star. We had him on to talk about how he discovered Big Star.
No, that's great. No, he's a good dude. He's a good dude. But it's kind of a similar bag if you think about it. I'm like, that band's been playing this rock and roll, big guitar thing since the 90s, and all of a sudden people are going, wow, what's this cool thing? And it's like, I'm sure he's sitting there going, yeah, I've been doing this forever, man.
That's absolutely.
That's kind of how I feel.
And I'm kind of guilty. I didn't know of Weston or like some of his older stuff. And then I go back and go like, man, this guy's just been writing great music for like decades now. And I'm just learning about him.
Yeah. So no, it's fun because all of these, bands like that or bands like ours where people are suddenly like, wow, this new thing. It's like, and never stops. You just found us, thankfully, and I'm very thankful that that's happening because, when you're around that long, you just kind of go, yeah, we'll keep. Hopefully, a few more people will hear this next one, but we definitely weren't expecting what happened with this record, and we hope it continues to build the way it's building.
No, it's awesome. I mean, I know me personally. I'm kicking myself. I didn't know you guys while I was up there. Would have loved to see you guys play out and whatnot. But kind of going out of the band too. Just kind of your your music career. How long have you been playing music? I mean, I know you said you've been doing it for quite a while. Like, I mean, High on Stress, this probably isn't one of your first bands, right? How long have you been doing this now?
Well, I've had two. Well, I would say I've had three main bands, really. My first band, kind of like the James Alex thing, was started in 1996.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like that was the first band that did that for quite a while. High on Stress actually started in 2003.
Oh, wow.
So this is 17 years, man.
Yeah, you have been around a while.
Yeah, we've been around for a long time. And then between those 4 years, I was in a couple of bands at the same time, a band called Pasadena 68 and another band called Dakota Shakedown. Dakota Shakedown's still going. That was a band I played guitar, and they replaced me when I left to do this. But Pasadena 68 was kind of my outlet, my songs during that period. But, I would say overall there's really just been that stretch. So it's just, bands, it's funny because most people will get in bands and they'll last for a couple shows or an album or 2 years tops. And it's like, no, man, I was like 7 years here, 14 years,
You got a nice track record.
17. Yeah, no, I think that ability, the tenacity of it, and then just being patient with yourself and being patient with with others, and knowing when there's chemistry is important. And you kind of, you're going to have the crap. Like, we had an argument earlier this week. That's just what happens when you're in bands. But what I would tell young bands is, get over it.
Yeah.
Whatever you're arguing about is stupid. Like,
Yeah.
Just enjoy your music. And it's a lot harder thing to do when you're earlier on, because you don't really have that perspective necessarily to see that, you got a good thing going. But when you've been around a long time, these little bickering matches that last for about 5 minutes, by the time you go home at the end of the night, you're going, oh yeah, whatever.
That's probably the way to be, though. I mean, if High on Stress has been going now 17 years, I mean, that's true. There's a lot of bands that don't make it out of 7 months, if that. So, being able to kind of brush it off like that, kind of go, hey, it's just an argument, is probably extremely, extremely important.
Yeah, perspective's important in anything, and I sincerely hope that not even in music, but people start to really look at things and become better critical thinkers.
That'd be nice.
That's my goal. That's my goal for 2021, that the world becomes better critical thinkers.
You know what? I hope you get your wish. I wouldn't mind that at all. But are you originally from the Twin Cities?
No, I actually grew up in North Dakota, just outside of Minot, a town called Surrey, literally like 800 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, small town. So that's where my first band started. And we ended up moving here about 3.5 years into the band. Everybody but the drummer came when we moved down here. And then I was in that band for another about 3 years here before I left and then started High on Stress. So.
Oh, nice. You, yeah. Like when you got there, is that like the closest big city from where you're from then? Would be Minneapolis? Yep. That's like going to the big city from there?
Yep, and I'd spent a lot of time here as a kid, and I'd come down for things. Like I came down for I don't know if you were here, right, at one point.
What was it?
You were down here. You lived here.
Oh yeah, no, I lived there last year.
Okay, yeah, no, so this was years ago, but there was one weekend a million years ago before I moved here too. Was Smashing Pumpkins were playing downtown for like a free show, and then it was like an Ozfest Warped Tour was happening in Somerset, Wisconsin, like the next day. So
oh, nice.
I remember coming down for that, and it was pretty bonkers. I saw Motorhead, which is quite the experience. The loudest band I've ever seen, and I was outside in the back on a hill, and there were still the loudest band I've ever seen. So like I would come down for stuff. So it wasn't like it was an adventure, but it wasn't like completely new. But when you pack up all your stuff and you show up in a new town when you're 20 years old, and days later you're standing downtown and Prince is playing Purple Rain to thousands of people, it kind of shows you that there's a whole new world happening here outside of your town of 800.
Yeah, that has to be quite the difference, being going from there to Minneapolis. And I mean, like, what was the music scene like when you originally got there? Like what did it look like? Like, did you start going to local shows and stuff right away?
In Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So right away I'd go to shows. I saw Prince right off the bat, Mill City Music Festival. It was actually the second time seeing him. I saw him in Fargo like about a year or two before that.
Oh, nice.
It was great. Not even sold out. The one time he played North Dakota.
What year was this?
It would have been 97.
Ooh.
And he played the Fargo Dome in North Dakota, and it didn't sell out.
That's insane.
And it was the only time he ever played North Dakota, which probably for good reason. But I had like 13th row, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So did that, and then there was another. You know Butch Walker at all?
Yeah, I know Butch Walker.
Yeah, he was in a band called Marvelous 3.
Oh, they're a great band.
And went to see them play about 3 weeks after I moved here into this little dinky bar in St. Paul. And it was the Hey album tour, so they were still touring on the hit, and there was 25 people in this bar. And that was my introduction. I had the record, but that was my introduction to Butch Walker live, and he could have been playing Budokan for all he cared. It was amazing. I'm like, this guy's incredible. It was a lesson in sometimes you play those shows and you show up and unload your stuff and it's a drag, and then there's 6 people staring at you, and if it bothered him, it didn't show. Like, he could have been playing to anybody. He was just having a blast, and it really rubbed off. So I saw that, and I ended up seeing Sunvolt at First Avenue, which was my First Avenue show.
Nice.
So, but getting into I had some friends that were in bands, but it was a hard break in too. We had to find a drummer first of all because our drummer didn't come, so that took a while. And then we did get a drummer, and he was kind of a cover band guy who played everywhere on the weekends, and it was just tough. So once we started to play more out about a year before I quit. So it was a tough break getting into it, and like anything, the longer you're around and the more you meet people, things become a little easier to navigate.
Oh no, yeah, I mean that would totally make sense. It's not a bad introduction though into there, including it's funny with Butch Walker because you think of like how many of like the huge things that he's been a part of, and that's pretty damn cool. You got to see him play in front of 25 people.
Well, yeah, no, I saw that show as 25. They came back for the Ready Sex Go tour, and I saw him at the Quest, and that was probably 50. And then we went the next night. They played in Duluth, and the place was packed. And I'm like, "Oh wow, okay."
Really?
And then they broke up, and then he came back and did an acoustic thing at the 400 bar, opening for Fastball, who was doing kind of an acoustic thing. And I got to meet him that night, and you could kind of feel there was a little buzz happening because Fastball had quite a few hits.
Oh yeah,
those few years, and they were great. They're fantastic. But you kind of felt this crowd, like Butch played, and then all of a sudden everybody was like, there's Butch. Like you just felt the eyes on him. And then I've watched it kind of grow. Like he would come and play at 300 people, and then there's 700 people. So it's interesting to watch it grow because at the beginning when I showed up, we were like, hopefully we can get in the door. Like hopefully it's not sold out because we own the CD, but we saw him on like playing on Leno or something, and you just kind of assume. And then you walk in, you're like, there's no one here. What?
I've had a few shows like that. It's funny the first few times that happens to you because it's mind baffling. You're like
yeah.
Am I in the right place? Like what's going on here? Is it the right day?
Yeah.
No. And
it was nuts.
And this may be a tough one. I feel like there's tons of great venues up there. But as far as playing in bands, what is your favorite venue in the Twin Cities to play at?
Oh, that one's easy for me. Growing up as a Prince fan, like I said, watching Purple Rain, First Avenue was the place I wanted to go in that building. Like that was my goal in life, was to go in there since I was a little kid. So when I went to see that Sunvolt show, I remember walking and going, this is incredible. Where's the rest of it? Because it's not nearly as big as you think it is. And then after that happened, then it was like, I have to play here. Got invited, ended up being a number of times. We got invited to do this Replacements tribute night there on the main room, First Avenue.
Oh, nice.
And that was unbelievable. Like when you're standing on that stage and that screen lifts, I don't know if you ever went there when you were in town.
Oh, I went to tons of shows there. I love one of the best venues in the country, like hands down.
When you're on that stage and the screen lifts, there's nothing better. So we did that a number of times. And then actually last year we ended up playing with our friends at the Gear Daddies, and it was sold out.
Oh,
and,
nice.
That was the best. The Gear Daddies were actually having their show recorded, and the guy recording the whole place was mic'd, the stage out in the audience. And he goes, "Hey, you want me to record you while I'm here?" We're like, "Yep." Yeah, hit that button. So we released that last year because we got a copy of it. And we were like, oh, this will be a fun little thing to have from the show. And we heard it and we're like, this is a live record. The quality, how it turned out. So we released it. That's on Bandcamp. It's High on Stress Live at First Avenue. So that was kind of that's my favorite venue, and still, played in that place 9 or 10 times, and it still baffles me that I ever got to do it once. So
it really is a special venue. Anyone who's never been there, I mean, there's just something about it when you go in, and I kind of had the same thing too. I knew the history of it before going in there, and I'm like, oh my God. And that has to be nuts then. That has to be pretty gratifying to not only have a live album from there, but also from a sold out show. That's pretty damn nuts. Cool, man.
It was nuts. And Prince, by the way, has a parking spot there still.
Really?
Yes.
I never saw that when I was there.
Oh, there's like a little parking garage in the back, and there's a spot, and it's got the symbol, and it says "You will be towed." And then there's multiple Purple Rain bikes too. The Purple Rain bikes. One of them's at Paisley Park, but the other one's actually in that parking garage. So it's pretty fun.
That's so cool. How about? I mean, I guess it may be the same one, but now if you're going to see a show up there, is that also your favorite one as an attendee? Is that your favorite venue?
There's a few. So if you're talking, that's kind of, at the bar. But if you're talking just kind of a dive bar sort of a thing, the Turf Club in St. Paul is tops for where I come from. That's great. As far as that level, First Avenue club level, nothing beats it probably anywhere. And then if you're talking theater, they're all a little hit and miss. I've seen some really good shows. Like the Palace Theater, which is in St. Paul. Kind of depends on where you're at. I saw a Spoon show there about a year ago, and I've seen them a number of times. But that I had a good spot there, and it was great. I've also had a spot way in the back there, and the show wasn't that great. So it kind of depends on where you're at. And then the huge, arena shows, you just cross your fingers and hope you didn't blow your cash.
Go buy $20 beers.
Right, exactly. I went to the Who last year. Third time I'd seen them, and it's the Who, but it's not the Who. Like, it's missing. It's not what it used to be. Even the first time I saw them was incredible. Second time was like, it wasn't as good. And this time was like, it was competent.
Oh, jeez.
And I love them. They're one of my favorite bands. But...
Hey, at least you're being honest.
Yeah. But that first show, when Daltrey hits the and won't get fooled again, and you blow backwards. There's nothing like that.
No, I've never caught them live. That'd be one I would like to see. Oh. Just to be like, you saw the Who live. And 3 times too. That's pretty damn cool. Yeah.
But no, when they're on, they're about as good as it gets, and when they're off, they're like, that was okay.
That was all right.
That was all right.
But
I'm glad I saw him. It's Pete. Pete rules. Roger's great.
That's true. I mean, just to say that you've seen them. They're there's certain bands that are like that, where it's just like, it doesn't even matter. It's just like, oh, you just saw that. Like, you just saw a living legend on stage, Yeah,
Dylan at this point.
Actually, I just saw that. That was the last. I think that may have been the last show I saw in Minnesota. Was him in where the hell did he play last year? Oh, south of Minneapolis. I can't think of it now.
He Mankato or Rochester?
Yes, Mankato.
Yeah,
Mankato.
I remember that. Yeah.
He did. He played Mankato, and it was the same thing. I'm like, you just gotta go see Dylan. Like, how many more times are you gonna play? Like, you have to go see that.
Yeah.
But kind of going off, live music again. Right now, like we were talking about, you guys had a release show, sadly canceled. But once all this is over, you guys can play live again, whenever the hell that is. Who knows? But when it does happen, what songs off the new record are you most looking forward to playing live?
Oh, that's a good question. Because we'd been playing prior the Live at First Avenue actually has Work Release on it and has Relax on the record, because we played them at that show last year, and we threw a few in at some other shows. Which ones? Caught Up in an Alcohol we usually play. The song Hold Me In, Stop Right There. Those songs we played a little bit, like we were just starting to kind of get them into the set. So once we're able to get back and going, I have a feeling all of those rockers are probably going to be in the set.
Those are all really good for those seem like perfect like live setting songs, to be honest.
Yeah, and the way we usually judge it is if we have a 45-minute set, or if it's 45 minutes, we're probably going to give you 12 rock songs. It's just the way it is. If we're going to play an hour, if it's an hour and a half, then you're going to start getting the Life Can Get So Longs and Wish This Moment Gone, and some of those more acoustic bass songs, longer sets where you kind of stretch out. But if we're just doing a 45-minute set somewhere, it's usually just the rock songs.
Now, like you said, you've played some of those live. Some of them are on the live record. Did they change much at all before going on the record? Like if someone goes and listens to them, can they tell they're the same songs? Or was there much transformation from live to record?
No, I think they're pretty well intact at that point. Because the two on there, Work, Release, and Relax, were some of the first ones we recorded for the new record. So they were already arranged and ready to go by the time we did that First Avenue show. So it's fairly accurate to the studio recording.
Nice. Other
than some stage banter shenanigans
missing from the record.
Yes, probably thankfully.
Well, as we kind of close out here, I mean, like you guys just come from such a great scene. I mean, just so many great bands come from that area. You guys being, I would say, one of the ones right now kind of carrying the torch of great Twin Cities music. But since you've been there for so long and you've been playing around there, what are maybe a few good like obscure bands they can? I mean, whether they're doing it now, whether they've been broken up for God knows how long. Are there like some good maybe obscure bands from the area that someone who's not from Minneapolis has maybe never heard of that people should go check out? Kind of going along with discovering the new record. It's like everyone's just kind of indoors right now. Like, what's some good old music someone maybe hasn't heard that they should go listen to from the Minneapolis area?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I would say for like current bands, if I had to mention, like Little Man is great, kind of a T-Rex sort of big rock guitar, sort of a 70s, glam T-Rex sort of thing. It's great. Some Zeppelin and Hendrix thrown in there as well. Some guitar heroics. Little Man's great. I would say there's a band called Valet that's still kicking around. They've been around forever. They're kind of an indie rock thing. I absolutely adore that band. But they're still kicking. So Valet would be another one. Dakota Shakedown would be one, my former band. They've got a new thing coming out with a new guitar player and a new album and some new songs. That's really cool. There's just so much stuff. Whiskey Rock and Roll Club Minneapolis. It's a real band name.
That's an interesting band name.
Yeah, no, they're great. They're great. It's actually, so it's kind of a blues rock thing. There's a guitar player, singer, bass player, and he refuses to wear sleeves on his shirts. They're all cut off. Yeah. And then actually High on Stress drummer plays for them as well.
Oh, nice.
So they're a 3-piece, and they've got like these lit up platforms.
This sounds awesome. I love this.
It's wonderfully ridiculous, and it's a blast. But yeah, that's another one, and of course. He's not playing now just because he had a stroke, but Slim Dunlap, of course.
Oh, absolute legend.
Kind of the king of the whole damn thing.
I would agree with that. Yeah, that is actually last week on the radio show we just played some stuff off that live record they just put out from the Turf Club. Yeah, no, I absolute legend there. So yeah, we've been playing that and spreading the word. But yeah, he's one of the best, I would say, of that, like those local artists or whatnot.
Yeah, best dude around. So I'm glad you're playing him.
But, as we close out here, people got to go, if you're a fan of this music that we've been talking about, you got to go check out High on Stress. We're going to play some stuff right now. But, where can people find you online? Where can they find the band? Where can they grab the music? Like all that good stuff. Where can people find you guys?
Well, we're on all the things. The Bandcamp page is the number one place to go because we've got the 5 studio records. We have a best of record that has everything from the best of the 2003 to 2014. We've got the Live at First Avenue on there, and as well as the new record. So that's a great place if you want to just check out everything. High on Stress, mpls.bandcamp.com. We're on the streaming sites, for discovery, please. Thank you. And then we've got a band page, highonstressband.com, and then, of course, social media sites, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. There's probably a MySpace page if you dig deep enough.
Yeah, go find them on MySpace. That's the best place.
Yeah, go find it. There's probably some good info on it from our first record on there.
Go see where they're going to be playing in 2004. That's
all right. I want to time. I don't know about you, but I'd like to time travel.
Oh, hell yes.
Let's get out of 2020.
I mean, also MySpace music was one of the best, I still think, layouts for musicians. I still don't understand how none of these have a goddamn album player on their pages. I've never understood how no social media has caught up with that again. I want to listen to music on a band's page. They need to update that.
Yeah, Facebook is pretty terrible for that sort of thing. You do it just because you've got a page, but ultimately that algorithm's set, so you give the money, and yeah, I don't want to do that.
No, not cool. MySpace Tom didn't do that kind of shit to us.
That's right. Yeah, but Bandcamp's great because not only do you put all your stuff on there. You could sample it, you could buy it, but they also have their once a month Bandcamp days where they waive all their fees and the musicians get all money from all the sales. So they're legit. And for as much as we like to complain about record labels and streaming and the Napsters and the MySpace and the I don't know what else, cassettes, what other old formats can we complain about?
How about 8-track?
8-tracks. Bandcamp does it right, and it's nice to have at least one company out there looking out for the musicians for once.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It is very cool, and that's I'm trying to remember. I think it's the first Friday of every month, right? That's when they don't do it, because that is when people should go grab it. Is the Bandcamp day where you guys get to keep all of it, basically.
Yep. The first Friday of the month they do that, but it's nice because they even during the regular days you still get some sales, but you definitely get a boost on that Friday because people are kind of in the mood to buy. It's like when they're on vacation and all of a sudden you're buying stuff you wouldn't normally buy. I think it's the same concept. People are just primed to buy music.
Hey, not a bad thing. And then, I mean, as far as vinyl goes, that's sold out. Did you say maybe down the line more, or you're not sure?
Feeling it out. I've had quite a few people reach out asking about it, and we're just kind of going, all right. Let's see. So you got to be very strategic, because happy it's sold out and actually made some money on it, which is insane to think about. But going in with another round of it, it's gambling, right? Do we lose that, or do we sell even more?
No, I can see where you're coming from. And if anyone's listening to this and wants that on vinyl, go hit them up on social media. Let them know they are not it is not a money pit. Let them know you will actually buy the record if they press it.
Absolutely. Yes, if you build it, they will come.
But Nick, this has been a blast. Like I said, we're gonna play some stuff off the brand new record, "Hold Me In," and it is High on Stress. We're gonna play a whole little block right now. We're gonna open up with one of my favorites off the record. This is Dakota right here on the Power Chord Hour podcast. A big old block of music for you from High on Stress off their brand new record, "Hold Me In." That one right there was Klonopin and alcohol. Don't think those are two things you should mix together, but what the hell do I know? I'm not a doctor. Before that was Daylight Instead. Before that was Stop Right There. Opening up that block of music. My favorite song from them, and I mean legitimately two, I think should be just a humongous hit. That was Dakota. I mean, tons of songs on that record that could be big songs and big hits, but that one in particular, I go, that's the song right there. That's the one that kind of gets them in kind of further out there than just this here podcast. I definitely am playing them a ton on the radio show, but I mean a much broader spectrum. I think they should be on like way more stations and podcasts now and Spotify playlists, whatever the hell the kids are, however the hell the kids digest their music these days. They should be on there, and that should be the song that everyone listens to on a playlist or on the radio or whatever. It should be a huge song, so we're doing our small part here to get out there. But I want to thank Nick Leet once again for calling in. Had an absolute blast talking with him. I wish I knew about them last year when I was living in Minneapolis. We 100% would have had him on, and probably would have been an in-person interview, and that would have been pretty damn cool. But hey, not happening, but that was rad. I had a good time talking to him. And go check out that new album, Hold Me In. But check all of it out. Go check out their Bandcamp. I mean, they have, if you're new to the band like me, you have a bunch of records to go back and check out, including a live one at from one of the greatest venues in the country, in the world, First Avenue. I mean, I was so happy that I got to live. I actually lived on First Avenue on the south side down it's a very long street, so it's not like I did live in walking distance. It was like a 10-15 minute walk from my apartment to First Avenue, but it's like a long ass street, and some of it's a one way, some of it's not, and it like bends and stuff, and it's very odd. So I mean, I lived on the same street as First Avenue, but I couldn't throw like a rock at it. And funny enough, we talked about the Turf Club in this, and the apartment that I actually almost got before I got my apartment in Minneapolis was in St. Paul, and it was a block away from the Turf Club, which was a big reason why I almost got it, because I was like, oh, hell, like like I knew of the Turf Club because of the replacements. Like I knew of the Turf Club before I even moved to Minneapolis. So when I drove past it to go look at the apartment, I'm like, oh hell yes, like that's pretty cool. But yeah, I almost lived by the Turf Club. Instead, I lived by First Avenue and 7th Street entry, which yeah, I mean historic. If you don't know what it is, I mean Prince, I mean Purple Rain, I mean the Descendants recorded Liveage at First Avenue. Just such a great venue that I hope can make it through this pandemic. And I think they have put some stuff up where like you can support them. So go check that out as well. Go check out High on Stress. Go check out their Bandcamp. Check them out, highonstress.bandcamp.com. And also see, First Avenue is all over social media and stuff. And if I see anything, I'll throw it in the show description. And same with the Turf Club too. Just really the Twin Cities, not even Minneapolis, St. Paul as well, have really some of the greatest venues I've ever been to. Like, honestly, like I've never been to a city that has that many good venues. Like, I loved living there, and never a shortage of good places. I can't say I ever went to a venue that I thought was really shitty. The Varsity Theater, I do actually enjoy, and I enjoy those weird-ass bathrooms, but I do think their security are kind of assholes. I don't know. They always kind of gave me like they kind of wanted to fight look, and I don't know why. Like I don't want to fight you, dude. I just want to go see the Menzingers. But for whatever reason, I don't know. I guess I had that look that I wanted to fight them. But outside of that, all really really good experiences and great venues up there. And I miss it up in the Twin Cities, so it was great to talk to someone from there. And who knows, I'll probably end up there some time in my life. Great city, great venue. So we'll throw some shit up there to show you how you can support some of those great venues and make sure that they can get back on their feet when all this is said and done. But that is it. That is the episode. I want to thank Nick again. You got some music to check out now. And, you can check us out online. We are at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We are on Spotify. We have the radio show, obviously, every Friday night for 2 hours now from 10 Eastern to midnight. And that would also make it, I believe, 7 to 9 Pacific Standard Time, if I just did my math correctly. 7 to 8, 8 to 9. Yes. Yes, I did do that right. It's funny. Anytime I do that, like, or if I'm on the West Coast and I'm like calling people back here on the East Coast, like I always just fuck up that 3 hours. Like it's always, and then even worse, I forget what the time difference was. But when I was in Maui a few years ago, I was over there for a cousin's wedding, and I forget what the change is there, but it's even like further in. And it was just very weird. And like, if I remember correctly too, like anytime I like called the East Coast, like the time difference was so different that it was like, I'd call and they'd be sleeping. I think I don't know. I can't remember exactly. I just remember it being very, very different from Eastern Standard Time, obviously. And but I did do the math right. 7 to 9 if you're over on that West Coast. But you can listen to the radio show from anywhere online at WRFALP.com, as well as the WRFA mobile app. And or if you are in the Jamestown listening area, good old radio, go tune it to 107.9 WRFA and give us a listen. But that's every Friday night. New podcast every Monday for you. And yeah, follow us online at Power Chord Hour on all those social media sites. And hit me up what we're doing if you want to rate and review this show. And give us whatever you want. Doesn't have to be 5 stars. You can say we fucking blow. Give us a 1-star review. Say this guy's voice is annoying. He's an asshole, and he plays terrible music. And if you want to screenshot that to me, send it to powerchordhour@gmail.com, and I will send you a free Power Chord Hour shirt. And you can wear it, you can burn it. Like I don't know. Do whatever you want for it or with it. Thanks for leaving a review. So leave a review. Send me a screenshot. I'll send you a free T-shirt. But if you're too damn lazy to do that and you just want something free, I do have some Power Chord Hour guitar picks. Hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com. And we have a few stickers left, but I ordered 250 of those, and we're down to like 5. So I may or may not have one. If you hit me up, maybe I'll have one, but there's also a chance that I don't. But I do have those picks, and if you want to leave us a little rate and review on iTunes, I'll send you a T-shirt, and they look very rad. Shout out to Grace, our listener, who has been listening to the radio show since like since really we started. I mean, 2016, she's been supporting us since the very beginning. The very first person I can even remember emailing the show. So very, very cool, and got to see shirts made. She rules. So we're not selling them or anything, but you just leave a little, do a little thing for us. We'll do a little thing for you. But shout out to Grace for getting those made. They look awesome, and she always picks great punk rock classic requests for the radio show. But that's going to be the episode for this week. I'll be back next week. I'm not even sure yet, to be honest. I don't know if it'll be a guest. I don't know if it'll be solo. But either way, you will hear my my angelic voice next week. Maybe by myself yapping for an hour. Maybe yapping for an hour with someone else. Who knows? The future's unwritten. You'll have to come back here and find out. But until then, for the Power Chord Hour, I'm Anthony Merchant. Thanks for listening.